soil when I walk, boy.
Let me know if the music doesn't stop.
Still going. There we go. All right. So welcome everybody to the World Football League. This is the State of the League address, and us three are very excited to be here tonight. Let's go ahead and go around the room. Let's introduce. If you don't know who we are, first off, welcome. If you don't know who we are, I mean, we are three legends up here, right? And and obviously, and yes, to answer the question, I have the most hair out of all of them. So let's go ahead and introduce myself.
He's not talking about body hair, obviously.
No, not body hair, because Colin's got me beat by a mile. All right, so, and that's very disturbing that I know that. All right, so let's introduce ourselves. My name is Chad Rowland. I have been in the sim football space for a little bit of time now, since about 2019. Starting in a different league and kind of been in a few other ones as well, and been just a player and been just, whatever, but I've also been an owner, I've been a GM, but I've never been what we are defining as an emperor. And so it's really exciting to be on this side of the aisle compared to the other side. So we've got a lot that we're going to be able to do and make this a fun league. So, but let me introduce you to the rest of the guys, and then we'll talk a little bit about what we're going to do here. So next to me, this way, I think, is none other than Dave Barr. Dave, introduce yourself, talk about your STEM experience, and just say hello to the people.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us this evening. I'm Dave Barr. I have been involved in sim football since during the pandemic, when I was really just looking for something to do and wanting to scratch that football itch. And I have been involved with it ever since in a couple different leagues. Mostly in the WFA with the Pottsville Maroons. And so I don't think I could have picked two better guys to work with here in this. Colin, these graphics are great. And thank you for all your hard work on that. But that's kind of my story. And, I was just looking for a way for us to have a league that's we're trying to get back to things being easy and fun. Really liked what we did there in the WFA, but as I learned behind the scenes what was going on, I discovered that there was really a lot of pressure on the guys who streamed, a lot of prep time involved in that. And so I started thinking about what can we do to ease the burden on those guys. And we think that with what's going to happen there with Maximum Football. And I'll digress at this point so we can hear more about the leader in body hair of the Emperors, Colin Pierce.
There we go. Colin, talk about how you doing tonight, buddy.
Yep. My name's Colin. I have been involved in sim football since about 2020. Dave introduced me. Not soon after, I would say, I was introduced to Chad, and both wonderful individuals. Both I feel I know at a personal level. Some, Dave more than Chad. Dave was an old high school football coach of mine. So we go way back. So this is a fun thing to do together with him. Chad, I think everybody who has tried sim football has talked or heard about Chad at some point. So in a great way. I don't think anybody has anything negative to say about Chad. So we have three great emperors for this league. We're really looking forward to what we can do together. Feel like we have a really strong core at the foundation of this league, and really feeling positive about what we have looking at Maximum Football coming out here at the beginning of November and what it can do for sim football.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, we've all three kind of touched on what this is going to be about, right? We've all been in different leagues to where we've felt the stress of being in those leagues and felt, you know, I guess the best word is stress. Being an owner or being a commissioner of the WFA or anything like that. We've all been there, and we just want to get back to the basics and just back to having fun with a great group of people. And that's what you're going to be able to find out tonight. Now, tonight is going to be, like I said, the league address. We are going to go through a few different slides, and we're going to talk about that stuff. And then later on, we are going to reveal the 8 teams, the initial 8 teams of the World Football League. And when we do say world, you will notice that some of these brands are not in America. So, which is really exciting to see and all that stuff. So we'll get down into that shortly. But let's go ahead and talk about the initial steps. What are we going to do here, right? What is the foundation, the roots of this league? Obviously, as you can see here, we are going to be using Maximum Football as a sim engine. They have done a great job with, and it's still a work in progress. Obviously, it's going to be an early access release November 7th. But from what they've done compared to what Maximum Football 2020 used to be, which had Doug Flutie on the front, if you guys remember that, lots of strides. So, and we'll go through and break this down, in the middle here. But Dave, want to get with you first and talk about what you're seeing here on this initial step side.
Well, I was fortunate enough to be able to be a playtester with Maximum.
Same thing. Same as me.
I don't want to, violate my NDA, but I will tell you that probably what most of you have seen on YouTube is that the level of customization in that game is outrageous. Micah and those guys did a great job of making it a game that I think really suits the needs of leagues like ours, where, we want to build our own team and build our players and have playbooks that are pretty modern. And, as I've watched what they have going on, it just makes me more excited. I really feel like this game is going to be ideal for us, even though early on it might be a growing thing for both us and the game itself. I think we'll grow together. And it's great to have Micah's ear, because I think he's listening closely to what people are looking for in a sim game.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you and I both are in that server, and I know there's probably a few others in this league that are in that server as well, and have tested this thing and done different sorts of, different variations of it too, going from online play to just dynasty mode or anything else. So, Colin, want to hear your thoughts about when we talk about trial period, and then we'll get into the rookie progression stuff.
Sure. I think Dave spoke really well on the fact that customization is without a doubt one of the best things that we have seen in sim football in a long, long time. The graphics are great. The ability to create your uniforms, the future ability to create your stadiums and build things the way that you want them to build. We've played the games on the play test, the pregame, the halftime, all of that is really nice to watch, right? Yeah. So there's no doubt that visually Maximum is going to be super fun and super engaging. So really what most people who are going to be watching this, the biggest concern is going to be, is the gameplay going to be realistic? Is there going to be any cheesy plays? And the answer to that is we don't know yet. But we are confident because we know that Micah and the team that's behind Maximum has been very open and willing to address problems through these play tests, right? We've had 2 or 3 play tests. Things have been addressed, and I feel, and I'm sure you guys do too, that they are wanting to make this game something really special, and they are listening to the community, and they're trying to fix things efficiently. So I think this is going to be a great game for us to use for the WFL.
Yeah, and one of the things too that people may or may not know is this is going to be for free. Right? The game is literally for free. Now, it's only going to be released on PC November 7th. I know that they are talking about a console release down the road. Not sure if they've ever really announced when that'll be, but once they get through what they're getting through here. And I would say probably first quarter of 25, I would assume that it would be released then. But want to go through and talk about the rookies, right? So obviously everybody in this league is going to be a rookie. And so, like I said, we want to do things a little bit differently. And as you can see here, each user is going to have one build. Position limits will be to be announced down the road here. We're still working through some of that stuff and figuring that out. It is going to be a $10 startup fee after season 1. So if you jump in now, and once we open up the player thing, once you jump in now and do that, like season 1, your builds are free. Right. And so we want to be able to get the base up and get it working as best as we can. And then after that, when we get through season 1, obviously rosters could be, bigger teams. There could be more teams by then, depending on what's going on. We are going to be, talking about that down the road too. But I wanted to really just get on this before we start talking about progression. So I want to go into the whole, because I know you guys have been in the league where you've had 2 builds per user. I'm used to the 1 build per user. I want to get your guys' opinion on, because somebody will probably ask, why did we go with the 1 user per 1 build versus 2 build? Dave, you first.
Well, I think early on, the decisions that we've made in terms of how we're going to build players and teams and so forth are to not bog down the league with more than we can manage. And, you might say, well, what's the difference between 1 and 2? It's not that much, but it'll be new for you guys too, as users. And so we felt like if we went with 1 build per user right now, that would give everyone time to see where the game's going, to see what, it takes to build a great player. And then, if you see that you need to build something else at some point, you're not stuck with, I guess what you would say really a bad build. And so for that reason, and to keep the draft, not being ridiculously long, we chose to go with 1 build per user for S1.
Yep, absolutely. Colin, you want to add anything to that?
Yeah. On the point of using 1 build per user, we have had several talks about this topic and going back and forth, looking at both sides, trying to talk through it, because we take every topic very seriously as emperors of this league. We want to make sure that we are producing something that is fun and engaging, yet easy to maintain. And we decided that 1 build per user met that on both accords, because 1 user is easier to track than multiple, right? But from a user perspective, I've been in leagues where you have multiple builds and they end up on different teams. And from my point of view, it is very hard to gain any sort of, I don't know what the word is, but it's hard to get invested into your team when you have several different teams that you are a part of. So being able to have 1 team that's your team, I think is a really important thing. And it builds culture, and it builds camaraderie, and it builds team spirit. And those are the things that I think we fell in love with in sim football in the beginning, right? So we wanted to try to keep that. And I wanted to speak real quick about the $10 startup fee. And I wanted to go ahead and come out early here and say that none of us, me, Chad, or Dave, want to make any money off of this league. This is what we are going to consider to be a nonprofit league. However, money that we take in is going to be reinvested into the league for the health and the infrastructure of the league, so that we can continue for seasons to come.
Yep. And that's the one thing that I was going to you kind of segue perfect into that for me was, with this, it's going to be, obviously anything that comes in wise, we want you guys to know exactly what it's going towards. And there's other things that you'll see money, it's going into building the league foundation stuff, but there could be, I may be teasing a slide here, but there could be some money going out. So, but yeah, like we talked about, we want to be as transparent as possible, and and so some of those fees, when we do start that up in season 2 for the players, it would be for the foundation and stuff, and all that. But yeah, none of us, when we talked about the money part of it, we talked about, oh yeah, we want to make money off this, because that's not what we're here for, right?
No.
This isn't a job for us. This is just a hobby, and we want to get back to the basics. So, Dave, any comment on that?
Yeah, just to restate what these guys have said, it's important to me that this be fun and easy. And while I think that the money that's going to come in will help us continue to build an ever improving product, it was also important to me that it be inexpensive. And I know that there are other leagues out there where there's more money involved. We don't want it to be like that way for anybody. So we just really felt like we'll keep it inexpensive, and in so doing, we'll build investment from our users, but it won't be overwhelming for anybody.
Yeah. And to be clear, this is a one-time fee for your build. So you pay up front, and as long as you keep that build, you don't have to pay again. So you can keep that build for 100 seasons, and you don't have to pay any more money. So it is just a one-time fee.
Mm-hmm. Correct. Yeah. And that, and just reiterating again, that starts in season 2. Season 1 builds are going to be for free.
And I think we wanted to kind of honor the people who have joined us at ground zero, right?
Yes.
Right.
So giving people free builds for season 1, I think, was something that we wanted to do to just kind of give back to the people who are helping us here at the beginning.
And you'll hear us talk about this too, going into the last topic here, but simple. We want to keep this as simple as possible. We want to keep it as fun as possible. So that's why we are talking about the progression system and being a check-in style, right? We will release more details about this, unless we want to go ahead and do that now. But basically what we're talking about is doing a check-in each week and building up a bank for progression points, and then being able to apply those progression points at whenever date and time that the league decides to do that. Then you'll be able to progress your players. So as we said, a lot of times when you see what's going on the back end of different leagues is, especially if they progress each week, you got somebody going in there and just changing all these builds every single freaking week. And it's just a lot of work, right? And we really are not about that. We're not trying to do it this way. So we came up with the idea of bringing back an old system from other places, and using a check-in style to where, we would be able to log those check-ins right each week. And then, at a certain time, if it's going to be at the end of the season, or if we do a progression one-time middle season, I'll let these two touch on that. Then we could apply those points to wherever you want to go. So, Dave, let's go to you. What's your thoughts on any comments about the progression style?
Just that, I think you kind of said it very well, that we want a way for you to have fun with your build, but also, a way for that build to improve as time goes by.
Yep.
And so, but we also don't want it to be overwhelming for you either as a user. So we're going to have a pretty simple check-in style system where we'll just track your check-ins. You'll earn points for that, and then you'll be able to apply those points to your player, so that each season goes by, you will see improvement in the way your player performs on the field.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Colin?
Yep. Just that I just want everybody to know that a lot of these things that we're going to talk about today, we are talking about before we get to look at the game and the whole situation as a league. So we have an idea of what we want things to look like. Things might change, but yeah, we plan on having a very simple check-in style, bank your progressions, and then when it's time to play, you sign with the team, then you get to add all those points onto your build. So that's kind of what we're looking at.
Yep, exactly. So we've talked about the initial rookie builds. How are we doing this season, right? We are, as we said, we are going to be doing 8 teams in this initial season. So it is going to be 10 weeks for the regular season. And then we will do the playoffs after that. How many teams get in, how many teams, whatever, we're still in the works of that. But right now, that this is just a basic season setup, and then we're going to do 2 seasons per year with a summer break, which will be probably when off-season stuff happens and other things like that as well. So this was something that we really went back and forth on for quite some time, talking about how we wanted this season to be set up, especially the initial season. Obviously as we grow, this could change. So Colin, I'll actually jump to you first. I keep going to Dave, so I want to make Dave have all the fun.
Yeah, sure.
So talk a little bit about, in your mind, of any comments you want to add about the setup we have going here.
Yeah, we want to make sure that we are getting through 2 seasons in a calendar year, whatever works best to make that happen. And we're trying to keep in mind, we have talked a lot, like Chad said, back and forth, looking at different things, because we need to consider off season as well. So we've looked at some things. We have another slide coming up here next that's much more detailed as far as the league calendar, and maybe we can talk a little bit about that here next. But we don't know yet about divisions. We don't know if we're going to need 1 or 2. All that's going to kind of depend on how maximum is laid out, what's going to work easiest for us and best for us. But Dave will be the man who is the schedule guru. That's his forte. And so he'll be dealing with that once we see what we are dealing with. So Dave, I'll hand it over to you here.
Yep.
Well, I think we all agreed as we were talking about what we wanted this to be like as far as the season goes, that we felt that a season that goes too long, if your team is not very good, it can be a bit of a drag. And so in terms of keeping people interested, it was important to us to keep the season a little shorter in terms of the season itself. And so we're all in agreement that we want to try to be at 10 weeks. What that will look like will come down to, size of conference or can we do a couple of divisions. But we'll tell you more about that, once we know for sure what that's going to look like. As far as the playoff goes, especially in S1, having everybody involved in something postseason was also important to me too. So we have a plan for that, so you'll get 10 regular season games, and then we have a way in mind for everybody to get an additional game that will be fun and highly competitive. And then, because that time period is shorter, it'll really lend itself to 2 seasons per year. But also importantly is that during that time of the year, June and July, when it's nice and, people are on vacations and doing things, again, nobody will be overwhelmed with needing to do things to take care of their team. It'll be kind of a casual off-season period for us. And so we think that's going to work out well for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, with Colin hopping in his RV and heading wherever he's going to be heading to, but you saw that RV or no?
No, I sold it. I sold it for quite a profit.
Nice. I know you got it for pretty cheap last time I remembered.
Yeah, free's pretty cheap.
Free is pretty cheap. So I don't know why that RV popped in my head, but it did. Rolling into the league calendar, this is what it's going to look like here. So rookie progression will start in December. The rookie showcase will start in January. So being able to get, those builds and stuff in there and be able to, and really what we wanted to do was be able to put on some games and first off show, what we're thinking product wise and how things will look and get a feel for how the game's going to play. And really just be able to showcase these rookies, right, and give the owners and coaches that are, owners an opportunity to be able to look at some of these builds and what they're going to be able to do, and maybe figure out who they want to take. And then we'll host a draft in February. Try to make that as fun as we can too with the draft, and then the regular season will start in that same month. So as soon as we go into the draft and we get done, we get the rosters done, boom, we're going to start right there with the season. And that's look like it's going to go from February to May, and then the postseason will, so the season and the playoffs will be done by May, and then from there you'll have June and July as the off season, right? To be able to, like I said, Colin's got to go on vacations, right? I mean, we gotta let that guy get out, right? So, and then and then we'll just repeat the same cycle, right? July to December, and then we'll do it all over again. So, I think we've touched on this pretty good, but any additional comments from either of you guys about this?
No. More to come on that.
Yeah, I just want to say we don't want you to be discouraged when you're looking at the season starting in February, because I know we had originally discussed a couple times of starting in January, but the more that we had looked at this and looked at the calendar, we decided that it was very important that we did have the months of June and July mostly off. As a league, for the people behind the scenes and the owners to have that time off for people who are enjoying their summer activities. And this is what fits best for that goal, including the preseason, the postseason, and the off season combined, so that we can flow through things nicely each calendar year and make it a little more like clockwork.
Yeah, and it's like sometimes you just gotta let it breathe, like a fine wine. You know what I mean? Like, just like a fine Coors banquet. You gotta let it breathe.
Oh, talk dirty to me, Chad.
One final thought there before we move on. I also think too that this time leading up to from the drop of the game until we actually start on that is going to give anybody in our community that wants to create content chances to get that up and rolling, test it a little bit, post it, get it out there for people to look at. We can share things that we're discovering about the game as we all practice with it, trying to get it figured out. So there's, even though it'll be not competitive, there'll certainly be time for us to share ideas and create content and get ready to make this really a top-notch product.
Yep.
All right, so let's roll into what does it take? What is it going to be an owner here in the WFL? So there is going to be a seasonal fee, $25 per season. We didn't really want this, as we talked about before, to break the bank. But what are we talking about here? Why are we charging $25? Like I said, this money that comes in helps build the foundation of the league. But as I mentioned, there may be some that comes out. And we decided that one of the things that we wanted to do was do something that you don't really see a lot of sim leagues do, right? Is pay your champions, right? I know a lot of people have talked about this to me personally with other leagues, and and I'm sure you guys have had it brought up to you as well. But we want to take those fees and really turn it around and give it back to the champions and the second place team. So as you can see here, and this is out of the ownership pot. This has nothing to do with the player pot, but the ownership pot, 40% of that going to the first place winner, to the champion. And then from there, 10% going to second place, and then the rest of you shippers are just out of luck. So, all right. So this is a huge thing, and we'll get to the ownership points here momentarily, but we'll talk about that. But Dave, go to you. What was the thought process as we talked about this behind the ownership fees and then the payout?
I think it's it's important that there be a little bit of a fee involved in terms of creating investment in your team and in the league. When it's free, it's easy to give up and move on. But in our case, because we're asking a little bit of an investment on your part, it certainly should ratchet up the competition among the owners in terms of trying to build the best possible team. We want competitive teams and really active locker room settings, and we think this is a step towards making that happen.
Yeah. That's exactly what I was going to say. And I will say real quick for those who are trying to math this while watching, 40% of the owner pot for 8 teams is about $80. Okay, so that's an $80 pot for the champion, and it's $20 for the runner-up. Okay, so not quite your seasonal fee for runner-up, but this pot is going to increase as we grow, which is another incentive. As the WFL continues to grow with more teams, this pot is going to get larger and larger, and we will stick to this same percentage payout as we continue to grow.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, as we talked, us three, throughout this whole process, we talked about, how we wanted to make this, fun, but also competitive as possible. And we know that there's going to be some competitive people. And so one of the things we wanted to put out was, hey, let's pay out the winners, right? Like if they win something, let them win a little something, right? I mean, not just a pat on the back or an attaboy, or I mean, I'll send you a case of beer, but I may only get 6 of them by the time it gets to you, but because I'll have the other 18. But it's something that we really just wanted to do, and and I think it's really going to make this league very competitive. Final thoughts?
Just that we have also even talked about the idea of maybe a traveling trophy or plaque or something with a ring or something that a champion could. You're going to get that money, but I mean, for me, 2025 is the 100th anniversary of the stolen championship of the Pottsville Maroons. It would mean a lot.
Oh gosh!
Yeah, a little history there. Right?
Gosh!
So it's more important to me to be able to take a picture of myself wearing a ring or a championship plaque to send back to the mayor of Pottsville, who I've actually talked to about this.
Oh, see, we're not even big time anymore, Colin. Listen to this guy talking to mayors.
He's talking to mayors and stuff. This guy's something else. This is
why he's an emperor, man. We needed a face of the league. Look at that face. I mean,
it's a face that only 2 other emperors could love.
Yes, that is true.
My friends tell me I have a face for radio.
There you go. Good way to put it. All right. So without further ado, I think there's a lot of, if you've stuck around this long, appreciate it. But we wanted to go ahead and announce the 8 teams. And we'll be getting things set up here in the server here after this is aired, and getting that all squared away. But so we're going to roll through. I got the list right here beside me, and let's rock and roll. Right. So the first franchise that we're going to talk about each one, right? And we'll do that. But this is the Buffalo Blizzard. That is going to be owned by Stefan Forge. So, Stefan, congratulations to you. Mm-hmm. I like the color scheme. Like that was one of the first things that popped out to me. Was the color scheme of this, and it's interesting to have a team up in Buffalo too. And it just kind of, I mean, Blizzard. Obviously, I think of Buffalo. I think of crazy Bill fans and nor'easter blizzards, right? Yep. So, Dave, what is your thoughts on the Buffalo Blizzard?
Well, that logo is one of my favorites. Although as I looked at all 8, I was really impressed at what each applicant submitted, and this one was one of my favorites. I love that. I love the blue in that, and that logo is really impressive. And Pottsville looks forward to a rivalry with Buffalo.
Ooh.
I can tell you that.
Ooh, I'm trying to tease a little bit there. Colin?
No, super happy to have Stefan in the ownership group. He is really involved in sim leagues. I think that he can provide a lot of positive team culture to Buffalo and to the WFL. So really happy to have him on board.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. So, all right. So the next one is near and dear to me. But this is going to be.
He said dear.
Dear. Dear. but it's going to be the Dakota Bucks. This one's mine. Really excited about it. It kind of brings me back to like a Wyoming type of thing, as you can tell with the color scheme. But I was trying to think of a place that nobody ever really goes to. So that was my thought process behind that. So I'll kick it over to you, Colin. What do you think?
I think it's cool. I was going to ask you what the correlation was with Dakota, but you explained it right there. But Dakota has some football talent in the real world too. So we'll see if you can bring that to the sim world.
Yeah, we'll see. So Dave, what do you think?
I just think the fans of North and South Dakota are hungry for professional football, and you have met their desire.
He satiated the Dakotas.
Yeah,
They're
I
going to be
wanted
full when this is over with.
yeah. I didn't want to make it north or south, so figured I could just represent both.
You
So
took
there you
both
go.
of them. You
Just do both
greedy
of them.
turd.
I am greedy. All right, let's see. So the next one is going to be Dayton, which is by Mac. I believe this is a brand from another place too, but
It is.
the color.
It is.
For me, it's always about the color scheme. So I just like that. What do you guys think?
Well, so far we have 3 teams in, and the color schemes of the 3 are greatly different, which I think is going to be good. Oftentimes you find, everybody in the league wants to wear all black, and do a blackout uniform if you want to. I think the customization of uniforms is going to be really varied in this game. But I love it that we've got 3 teams in, and we have a great deal of variety so far. And, yet again, another very cool graphic.
Yep. And another very cool owner and another very cool Sim League member who I'm excited to have, Super Big Mac, on board with the WFL. Speaking of, I tried the McChicken Big Mac today. And it was
Why?
pretty good.
Really?
I'm just saying. So
I don't think I can do it.
I don't know. I'll probably end up trying it down the road, but I don't know.
All I'm saying is I'm a Big Mac fan, both in the WFL and in real life right now.
I mean, fair enough. All right, so sticking kind of to the north here, this one I really love. This one is Jack's, and this is the Michigan Marauders. I go back to color scheme, but the logo of it just looks really cool.
Same here. Jack is really a competitive owner. You guys touched on this earlier that the people getting teams are very competitive, and so we have a solid ownership group to start. And I hadn't thought of this mascot or logo, but man, he really hit it out of the park with this.
Yeah,
it's great.
Yeah, I love Jack P as a competitor. I love him as an announcer and broadcaster. Hope that he brings some of that to the WFL. I think he has a lot of talent, both on the field and off the field, and really excited to see his Michigan Marauders in action.
Yeah, the big boss doing it in Michigan. So the next one will be the first world one we've had, which is really cool. But the Munich Metalheads, which is provided by our guy Top. Kind of like what Dave talked about earlier, kind of like that all black, we had to have somebody do it. But the all black and white and the silver, it just all kind of works well together with the logo that he's got. So very impressed.
I thought he did really a good job with this. He has a Metalheads team in the WFA right now, and what he did with his stadium in that league and what he did with his uniforms was really impressive for, the limitations of that game. And I think he has a plan in place to make it even more over the top, so to speak, with the Metalheads in Munich. And so kudos to him. Great job.
Yeah. Top is a guy that I've kind of grown close to in the last couple years. He has a real heart for simulated football, and I think that I think he's searching to get involved in something a little more, and I'm hoping that he finds a home here in the WFL. Looking real forward to Top and what he does here.
Yeah, he's retiring from another league, and so it's a little depressing on one end, but great on the other end what he's able to bring to us. I think we could skip this next one, right, Colin? You think we could skip this one?
Yeah, they're a bunch of idiots.
But I have heard that he is really close with the mayor of Pottsville.
I sent the mayor there an email when I clear back in my WFA days, asking for his blessing and permission to use the town's name and of course the logo. I don't think they had one in 1925, but he probably thought I was nuts. But yeah, he emailed me back, and so I don't know how much they follow this team or not. I'm going to try to push that a little bit as we go forward, but I'm really excited to have this opportunity in this new league, and so we'll see how this goes. We're excited.
Is it just me, or is this a new and improved logo?
Logan helped me out with it a little bit. I was looking for, the original maroons were maroon and gold, but it was kind of gold in 1925 was kind of loosely interpreted. And I got to thinking about how much, people talk about the throwback color of the creamsicle jersey of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And I thought, that's not too far from gold. So our secondary color is going to be that creamsicle color.
Okay. Yeah,
like
that's
it.
what I was gonna. That's what I was gonna bring up. Is that the old Tampa Bay cream? But you already answered that for us. So the next one is the other world one we have currently, which this one's really cool. It looks like a really pissed off unicorn, but it's the it's the Scotland Legends. Well done. I just still cracks me up about the unicorn part, but Dave, guys, what do you guys think about this one?
Again, it's a great logo, and I think Logan he has a lot of abilities besides running a team that'll be pretty important for our league in its early stages, and so he's done a good job, in helping people put together logos that are sharp, and he did a good job on this one too. I love the name, and I kind of thought he might go with the Loch Ness Monster, but
Okay.
a unicorn too. I mean, it's got a really unique horn. And so love that. Good job.
I love this logo, and I love what he's doing with the Scotland Legends. I've seen a few snapshots of some in-game photos where he's worked on uniforms, and man, they look cool. And we all know that that's what Logan does. He does uniforms, and he does them well. He brings a lot to the league. I think he's going to be a competitor, and honestly, maybe my favorite mascot that we have in season 1.
Okay, man, I thought maybe you might go with the last one, but I guess not. So, but let's talk about this last one. Them guys out there in West Virginia, the West Virginia Wilds. The dark green and the black will look really interesting. But it's a well designed logo. So, and the guy that's could be the owner, Derek, we all know. So, Dave, talk about what you think about this one.
Well, it made my heart happy when he put this in on his application, because this is the branding that we were going to use when we made a bid for an SFL team.
Yeah.
And we were all disappointed when we didn't get that team, because we felt like we had really a solid marketing plan, and the logo and the branding was part of that. And this logo, and what Derek is going to do there, I mean, for me, it's just like the Dakota Bucks. I mean, I guess we're going to find out. Can a buck outrun a wolf, or will the wolf devour the buck? Should make for some great games and some great content leading up to it.
Well, I'm excited for what Derek's going to do with his West Virginia Wild team. Like Dave said, this goes back to the roots of our sim football experience, and this was the original logo. This was the original color scheme. Some may wonder what the black and green is going to look like, but I'm just going to say, when have we ever disappointed you before?
There you go.
So we're excited, excited to bring another team to West Virginia, and working together with Derek to be competitive.
All right, so there you go. There's the 8. Let's see all of those at the same time there, as soon as he wants to bring it up there. There we go. Yep. So there is the official 8. That just looks great. Looks fantastic. Looks fantastic. So those are the 8. So really, we're just going to leave this with final remarks here. I'll let you guys kind of just lead us out here. So Dave, you first. What do you think? Final remarks.
Well, the 8 that we have are solid. It's going to be a great ownership group. We had some very good applicants. We are waiting for the game to drop to see what happens. It's very conceivable that we're going to need some extra franchises, depending on how the game lets us break up conferences and do some things. So if if you've heard from us, please stand by and stick with us. There's more to come. And we're also hopeful for the future as well in terms of growing and expanding the league.
Yep. We want to do this right. We want to do it the right way. We are putting an awful lot of frontal lobe action into this league. and we are really trying to do our best here. So we think that we have chosen the right 8 to get us started, and just really looking forward to seeing what the WFL does. We hope that we can get people involved in chat. We hope that we can get a lot of people to come into the league to just enjoy sim football like it's meant to be enjoyed, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. I think with what we've talked about here, this is something that we're taking baby steps on too, right? To make sure that we get everything correct. And we want the input from everybody else as well. So, I mean, if there's something that comes down the line that, you may have a better thought process on, let us know. That way we could do that. And one of the things that we're going to try to push to is content, and other things like that. And I wanted to touch on that because he's going to be the one that's kind of heading all that up. But as far as I could tell you guys with like streams and other things like that, we're going to be trying to make it as consistent as we can. That's one of the main things, and you can ask these two that we brought up, was the consistency of streams and all that stuff. And so being able to put that out there and have a consistent schedule is going to be a big key. And that'll be something we'll discuss down the road and get that plan in place. But in all due time, obviously, we'll get that all figured out once we get there. And we're just hoping for something great in season 1 and be able to, build this together. So, Colin.
Yeah, no, I'm excited. I'm ready for us to get started. I'm ready for November 7th, where we can really hit the ground running. But until then, just enjoy your time in the server, invite your friends. Let's get excited and let's start working on building something to last a while.
Magical.
Something magical, like a unicorn.
like a Scotland legend.
All right, guys. Well, thank you all for tuning in. This has been the very first WFL State of the League address, and we'll see you next time.